update since the firestorm that we experienced over the weekend, and that is the fact that both sides, both the WNBPA and the league, have agreed to essentially telling the players to not sign a new deal until this new CBA is finished, which I feel like that's a given. Of course, you shouldn't sign a deal under the old CBA. Would the Chicago Sky or the Fever get much higher ratings than the Connecticut Sun? Or they get higher attendance than this? The Golden State Valkyries have higher attendance than the Las Vegas Aces. Like, you need to be able to report things
and stop everything, because what you're about to witness isn't speculation, opinion, or drama. It's a collapse unfolding live. Day 1. Unrivaled launches with promises of revolution. Headlines scream the future is here. Players whisper about leverage. Then the numbers hit and they crash. 65% of the audience evaporates. Panic spreads quietly like a virus. It's just opening day hype, they murmur. Give it time. They'll come back. Then day 2 arrives and the illusion shatters. Not a dip. Not an excuse. 95% gone. In less than 48 hours, the crowd doesn't just vanish, they vanish from existence. Empty arenas. Silent broadcasts. No chatter. No pulse. This wasn't a slump. This was exposure, because for the first time, there's no Caitlin Clark on screen. And without her, nobody tunes in. Not Angel Ree, not Paige Buckers, not Aya Wilson, no elite stars, no historic moments, nothing. And that's when everything shifts. The whispers turn into fire. The same players who once threatened strikes, who demanded 30% of gross revenue, now face a reality they never imagined.
Opening slate on January 5th, which kicked off on a Monday afternoon game, averaged 175,000 viewers in 2 games. That aired both on TNT and True TV. The 2 True TV exclusive games on January 5th averaged 32,000 viewers. That's very low. Games on January 9th averaged 139,000 viewers across TNT and True TV. The 4 games that aired January 10th and January 11th averaged 71,000 viewers on True TV. All unrivaled games also air on HBO Max, which is not measured.
But it says here, Unrivaled is bigger than a year ago. It created 2 more teams, signed 54 players. The problem is that no developmental player has played yet. They have all these developmental players signed. None of them have played yet. It expanded its Miami campus too, adding an additional court and weight room to the facility. That is unpopular opinion. That's fucking irrelevant to it.
Same players who once called the old contracts a disgrace are now pleading, not on Twitter, not in front of cameras, but in shadowed rooms behind closed doors. Can we run the season under the old CBA? They ask. Can we hit pause? Can we just keep this alive? This isn't strategy. This isn't negotiation. This is pure raw fear. Unrivaled was meant to be the power move, the ultimate leverage, the warning shot. Instead, it ripped the mask off. Without Caitlin Clark, the fans disappear. And with the fans gone, everything collapses, the plans, the promises,
into this league, under the assumption that this league is going to make the money. Like, the investors aren't burning money. People are like, they're investing. Big word is investing. They don't want the league to burn money. TNT, I'd say, are sitting there hearing this shit being like, why did we spend 30 million on a league when the players don't even want to be competitive with each other? Well, let's take react to this article from the New York Post. So, this is an article about Unrivaled's success may come down to seconds.
Let's take a step back. WNBA players stormed into negotiations convinced they held the cards. They believed the league was thriving. They believed fans were loyal. They believed stars could be swapped like pieces on a chessboard. They were dead wrong. The growth? An illusion. Concentrated in one name, one force, one unstoppable draw. Caitlin Clark. Ike knew it. Sponsors knew it. Networks knew it. That's why her deals skyrocketed while everyone else hit a wall. Now the contrast is merciless. While Unrivaled bleeds 95% of its audience by day 2, Caitlin Clark's merchandise flies off shelves. Her highlights dominate feeds. Her name alone drives numbers. One player creating entire ecosystems of value. And now that system is cracking because leverage only works if your threat is real. Unrivaled isn't. 107,000 viewers opening night, down from 313,000 last year.
Like, people wouldn't be watching ratings like this. They wouldn't be pocket watching. They wouldn't be like, oh, how does Unrivaled make money? How do they do this? How do they do this? People wouldn't be this tapped in, this lasered in, if it wasn't such a big thing at the negotiating table. Of course, people are going to start comparing it because it's like the founders of this league tried to make it seem like it is so much better than the WNBA. And I feel like that's kind of disrespectful. Yes, they did a lot of things right. They did a lot of incredible things, but we wouldn't be looking into Unrivaled this hard and be like, well, where'd you get your money? Well, how much is the TV deal? How many people are tuning in? If they wouldn't have built it up and been like, well, the WNBA sucks and everybody there sucks, which I am on their side in a sense that I do think with the WNBA, so much could be better. But anybody who was here thinking that Unrivaled is just going to be this massive thing and it's going to put the WNBA under, like, I've been saying that from the beginning. And I've also said from the beginning, Unrivaled doesn't succeed if both leagues are successful, and especially if the WNBA is successful.
This isn't a decline. This is a flat-out rejection. TNT poured millions into hype. Media shouted about a revolution. Players promised solidarity. And the audience? They said no, and here's the truth nobody dares say aloud. This isn't sexism. This isn't marketing. This isn't respect. This is raw, unfiltered supply and demand. And the demand is gone. WNBA players rejected 50% of net revenue. They demanded 30% of gross. Do you grasp how insane that is? Gross revenue before expenses. That deal would have drained the league of hundreds of millions. The league said no. Players threatened to strike. Unrivaled was supposed to be their safety net. Now that net is blazing, and suddenly, they're rethinking everything because reality doesn't care about ideals when rent is due, beliefs don't pay bills. Narratives don't fill arenas. Hashtags don't rescue leagues. Ratings do. And the ratings just scream the truth. The WNBA survived decades because the NBA subsidized it, patience, hope, long-term vision. But patience has limits. When an alternative collapses this spectacularly, owners notice. Investors notice. Networks notice. And suddenly, the question stops being, how do we grow this league? And turns into, why are we even funding this? Interview.
In this lasered in, if it wasn't such a big thing at the negotiating table. Of course, people are going to start comparing it because it's like the founders of this league tried to make it seem like it is so much better than the WNBA. And I feel like that's kind of disrespectful. Yes, they did a lot of things right. They did a lot of incredible things, but we wouldn't be looking into Unrivaled this hard and be like, well, where'd you get your money? Well, how much is the TV deal? How many people are tuning in? If they wouldn't have built it up and been like, well, the WNBA sucks and everybody there sucks, which I am on their side in a sense that I do think with the WNBA, so much could be better. But anybody who was here thinking that Unrivaled is just going to be this massive thing and it's going to put the WNBA under, like, I've been saying that from the beginning. And I've also said from the beginning, Unrivaled doesn't succeed if both leagues are successful, and especially if the WNBA is successful. All Brianna Stewart and Nafisa have been saying from the beginning is they want to make sure that the ladies get paid more and they can stay on American soil. You know how they can do that? By playing in the WNBA. And if they do get these salaries that are $500,000 average with over $1 million max, they're going to be making more than they make at Unrivaled. They're going to be playing 5v5 courts. They're going to be playing in much bigger arenas. So they did their job. So in that sense, if that was truly their goal, they did their job. They did their job. They used, I guess, possibly some leverage from Unrivaled at the negotiating table. And they did their job and they got the ladies paid more. And now you don't necessarily need Unrivaled anymore. So I'm very interested to see what the future of
that is. Terrifying because the second owners stop believing it's over. This is why the panic is real. This is why players are pleading the bluff failed. They assumed Caitlin Clark's fame would lift the whole league. It didn't. She rose. Everyone else just rode along. And now the ride has ended. Paige Buckers earns hundreds of thousands to draw college-level numbers. Angel retrends online but doesn't convert viewers. Aya Wilson is elite, but elite doesn't equal audience. This isn't disrespect, it's math. Caitlin Clark isn't replaceable. That's the brutal lesson Unrivaled just handed the world. And now negotiations pivot. The league doesn't need to hurry. The players' leverage is gone. The threat? Dead. Strike. Go ahead. The fans have already left. And here's the darkest truth. If the 2026 season runs under the old CBA, watch solidarity crumble. Individual deals, side contracts, quiet exits. Because when survival is at stake, ideology evaporates. The same voices shouting about equity will scramble for crumbs because crumbs are better than nothing. And right now, nothing is winning. This isn't hate. This is exposed.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, why would I watch? Like, for lack of a better way, training camp for players that why would we be we're essentially, they're pitching it as we're watching basically player individual workouts. Like, if they're not talking about it as a competitive league, and I don't like as well on social media, everyone's like, oh, it's so great, there's none of the bullshit with the WNBA. Like, you look, all the players are getting along. Why do we want the players to be getting along? Like, why do we want all these players to be friends with each other? Like, I'm sorry, what are we doing? Like, they play against each other one night in like a heated matchup, and the next night they're sitting together, smiling together courtside, and I'm like, no, you don't want to see that. You don't. It's fair enough that the players are all friends with each other, but a culture of zero competitiveness. And by the way, you've lost Skylar Diggins, you've lost Angel Reese, you've lost.
They spoke, the numbers answered, and the illusion shattered. Women's basketball didn't ignite. One star did. And without her, the entire foundation trembles. Day 1, 65% vanished. Day 2, 95% erased. This isn't a warning. This is the finale. And now they're pleading to turn back the clock. But markets don't reverse.